He's Google Docs. It doesn't do it automatically?
No, I was copy pasting the. You mean
Oh.
for the dates?
Yeah, I figured it did it automatically.
Yeah, Peter did it. Yeah, so
Okay.
Peter did it. So you think it was done automatically? Yes.
Peter did it automatically. All right.
Yeah.
So all right, I'll share my screen. Did you start the recording?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Okay.
I
Great.
think that the demos we can delete the demos, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I'll put the events in there because we should. It's like 1
We
week
should
left.
talk about it.
Yeah.
Shit. Okay. Alrighty. Can y'all see the screen?
Yep.
Cool. Okay. So before we get started with topics people might have, I see some new faces in here today, so I just wanted to give people an opportunity to introduce themselves if they'd like. You don't have to, obviously, but would love to hear who you are, where you're coming from, and what brought you here.
And what's the temperature at the place you're at?
Yeah, and what's the temperature? In Celsius. Don't give me that Fahrenheit shit.
Of course.
Okay. I'll play the Jeopardy music in my head, but seems like people don't want to share. Okay. Well, if anyone who joined feels like speaking up later, then feel free. Cool. All right. So I don't have a ton on the docket today. A big tracing PR just merged. So I was going to give a demo of that. I think that's really cool. I'm really excited about that. I think that'll enable a lot of debugging use cases. So that's what I've got. Wait, where did the notes go? Oh, here. Yeah, so that's all I've got. I think, as Peter was mentioning, in terms of events, KubeCon and the Colos are coming up. So definitely would recommend submitting. It's pretty cool to speak to that. And I think, since K-Agent just got accepted, they love hearing customer stories and user stories about K-Agent, and we're happy to help. I have a set of slides that I can send to you. Right now they're in Excalibur, but they can be exported and all that. So yeah, would definitely recommend that. So with that, I think sorry, go.
No, I just want to say if anyone wants to team up and contribute, work on a talk together, there's a channel, talk workshops ideas in the Discord, and let's talk it out there. And if we want to submit together, let's do it. I think the chances for getting the talk accepted are much higher if it's people from different companies, I guess, versus just all the people from all the same companies all the time,
Yeah, I agree. Cool. So let me. I'm gonna build latest in the background. Actually, I realized. So I'll do that. Actually, I think I might already have it. So let me. Okay, 1 second. All right. Nope. 1 sec. All right. I'm just gonna pull up this demo. I'm doing it live, so we'll see how it goes. I'm going to work for the UI, and we're gonna show the new tracing work.
I think Samuel might have a question.
Oh, sorry.
There's a
yes,
hand
Samuel,
up.
I did see that. Sorry, Samuel. Yes.
Yeah, no, I'm just watching some of the notes, and I see my name offering to support on the OpenShift front for the installation. I would like just to share one more thing in relation to that. OpenShift use the structure of using operators to manage components on be installed and manage the lifecycle of these components. Maybe I know that you guys have a Helm chart already to install key agent. Maybe it is a nice move to create a community operator around the Helm chart you already have using the operator SDK, and then distribute that operator on OpenShift as a community operator initially, and then eventually you guys can become like a partner and deliver that as a paid operator, or or as a supported operator under the OpenShift marketplace infrastructure. So I'm just sharing that because that will be the ideal path to get key agent installed on OpenShift in a more with a range and traction way beyond of just the repository sharing the operator, or it gets traction from the community that already have OpenShift, being able to download and install these operators from the OpenShift console directly without having to interact or do anything behind the scenes.
So can I ask, and maybe this is a dumb question, what's the difference between that and just using, like, since it's Helm, between that and just using Argo?
Well, Argo is gonna just make sure your artifacts will be synchronized all the time. The operator has an operator lifecycle manager on OpenShift that controls the lifecycle of these operators. So you can create channels for different Z-string distributions. So you can have the stable, you can have the release candidate, and everything is managed by the operator. And choosing the proper channel, your customers will have access to. So it streamlines the way you deliver that software and controls the version of it, controls the installation, upgrades, and everything, all behind the scenes for you. So that's it's a life cycle manager for operators that can be created from Helm charts or Ansible roles or anything like that, or you can create your own operator using Go and whatever. But still, the SDK gives you the ability, if you already have a Helm chart that you install, you can generate an operator out of that Helm chart installation, and then distribute that as a community operator for the whole community that use OpenShift. So, in just a couple of movements, you have key agent enabled in every OpenShift installation out there to be installed and tested. And I feel like the right path for you guys.
Yeah. Would you mind creating an issue? I think that's a great idea. I think, it would be helpful to be able to track that work. Also, I don't know if you saw, but I changed the port binding away from 80.
Oh, yeah. That's another thing. That can be configured through the operator as well. So, at the end of the day, it's a CR. So you create the key agent CR, whatever, and then the operator watches for that object and start all the.
No, it definitely makes sense. I've just seen that the rest of the community has moved, it seems, towards Argo and that sort of deployment infrastructure. So I was just curious, but definitely, I mean, we are definitely interested in.
What I did was when
I think some let's on the issue and discuss, because we've seen in past examples like with Istio and others where operator was like lagging behind, especially on OpenShift, and then we had like a significant gap in versions.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it requires some commitment. I mean, it's okay to create operator specifically for OpenShift, but if it's only for OpenShift, I mean, we need to be careful with the engineering effort and everything. I think Argo is currently the mainstream.
No, I agree. Argo it's way more flexible, and operator SDK is more towards OpenShift driven. Although you can install the OLM in other Kubernetes flavors and still use operators if you want. The ability to track those Z-string versions through the OLM is something that I feel like it's very interesting for you guys to release new versions and control this. And the impact provisioning key agents out of OpenShift marketplace from every OpenShift distribution is also generates an impact.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. Okay.
sure.
Yeah. So if you wouldn't mind creating an issue, I think that would be great, and we can follow up on that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
no.
Cool. All right. So I have this demo ready, so I'll show that off. So there was a bit of a, you probably saw it in the background. But what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to start a conversation with the Kubernetes agent. So I'm going to say, what pods are running right now in my cluster? And yeah, let's just start there. So it's going to go ahead and it's going to run the tool call, and then it's going to get me back the response. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to Jaeger. So I have OpenTelemetry enabled, and I did that just by setting hotel.enabled equals true, and then the host in the values file. Actually, I can probably let's do something fun here. Actually, let's check out our Helm agent and let's see. Hey there, can you get the values for my K agent release? And that way we can take a look. Okay, so it's gonna get the release. It's gonna show you. There we go. All right. So hotel.tracing.enable. Oh, God, I love AI sometimes. So yeah, so you see here that it went and got the information, and it told me that my tracing exporter is set to my Jaeger collector. So basically, I just deployed a all-in-one to my cluster. So it's just collecting the traces via hotel. So now if I go ahead and I look for service K agent traces, you'll see that I have a couple that are important here. So my first one, so the ones that we're going to be looking for are our run stream. So these, importantly, they follow the Gen AI semantics. So if you were to look at these in any Gen AI focused, in any Gen AI focused observability platform, these would show up properly there. So there's a whole set of semantic conventions around what Gen AI traces are supposed to look like. So these follow that. So if we look at the run stream, let's look at the first one that happened. So that was our Kubernetes one. So if we take a look at that, we'll see that what happened was we got into our run stream, right, which is just basically returning all the data from our initial query. And we see we have two invocations here. Now, the reason we have two invocations is that we have the first one that checked whether or not it made the first request and it said, okay, do I need to so the initial tool calls are all in this invocation here. So you see here that we called execute tool, which was the tool name is get resources and the tool description. So this is explaining, what tools we called. And in addition, we can also look at all of the different all of the information that was actually passed to the LLM, right? So we see the entire prompt here, right? All of the tool calls, all the parameters, all that information. And then in addition, we see our second invocation here, and this comes with every single chunk that was returned, as well as, again, the prompt, the additional content, et cetera, et cetera. So, and now again, if we take a look at our most recent one, we'll see this time we invoked our Helm agent, right? And we had a similar thing where we reached out to OpenAI, and it told us, right, we can look through this, but essentially, if we look at the result, yeah, I don't know. Wait, where's the result here? Functions, response, content. Wait, where's the response? Okay, I don't know where the response is in here, but it's probably in all these logs. You get the completion chunks, which I don't really want to look at. But anyway, somewhere in there, it told us to call the get resources tool. So you can see here that we executed that tool, and all of the so we executed that tool, and then we went ahead and once that invocation was done, we actually invoked again with the results, and that's what you can see here. So you get a couple of nice things here where you see each invocation, all the tools related. You see how long the actual time the first token is, which you can see here is actually just 962 seconds, which is pretty cool. So all of this is done again, literally just with these two values, hotel.tracing.enable true and the endpoint. And you, of course, if you have authentication and other things, like you'll have to set more stuff. But just to show, that's all you have to do to get it going. And the cool thing is that, like, you also have, of course, nested agents and everything else there. So yeah, that's the demo. So again, it should be like incredibly easy, and it will trace all of your requests. And yeah, so you can see what the hell's actually going on, which is awesome. So yeah,
That's nice.
that's
And the installation
that's
of
the
like
demo.
the Prometheus stuff is just Prometheus and
Yeah, so
not
I did it.
Prometheus, the whatever the collector that you have, right? And Jaeger or whatnot.
Yeah. So I just followed this demo here, whatever this, like, I don't even know what it is, but it's just a quick, Helm chart with the values here, and it's done.
We should add this to the docs.
Yes, that's my plan today.
Perfect.
So,
right. To basically explain here,
yeah,
how you install everything, and then how do you configure the? Should we install?
I think we configured already Yasu as a for Docker. There is a make file line to start Jaeger. I don't know if it's still there. There are like
that was as a
you can run
Docker.
it inside the cluster or Docker.
Let me see.
I don't know, but that's where I was getting as well. Should the default installation have an option to like install this automatically, or we?
I don't think so.
Or we shouldn't. Yeah.
I don't think so. I think if you want to install it, you can add it as a dependency or whatever. But I don't think we should install it by default.
That is a good segue to explain why the OLM operator I was mentioning on OpenShift really works. So if you create something that depends on the other operator like Jaeger, it could just provision the Jaeger operator for you as a dependency. So you won't have, that would be cool.
Oh, interesting. But most people, I mean, like at least me personally, I wouldn't run Jaeger, right? Like I would use whatever cloud I'm in, I would use that, or whatever my observability team, like 90% of the time I wouldn't actually, I would be doing it as a test, but I probably wouldn't actually be running Jaeger, because you need like active constructor or whatever. So yeah. And there's a lot of different observability pipeline and platforms now. I think like ClickHouse is becoming really big. So, yeah. Okay, so I think that's kind of all we have. Oh, sorry, Peter, go.
No, I'm saying that's nice.
Yeah. So that's actually all we have for today. So we have 20 more minutes if anyone has anything else they want to talk about. Distract me from the heat.
There's been some discussions. I'm getting queries about the A2A A2A ticket we have.
The
thing.
The one to upgrade.
Yeah, the one the from Dan Vasiliev.
This one or someone else?
438.
While we are here, is it possible to enable the discussion pane for the Git repository? Just to have like issues and discussions in different places, so you can discuss like features, like are you gonna implement SDK or not, and then link those two issues instead of having issues tagged as features.
Well, it said I couldn't perform at this time, but I think I just enabled them. So, but yeah, I think so. A lot of discussion right now is happening in Discord, which is good and bad, right? It's not as recorded, but also it's a lot easier and more freeform. What do others think?
I mean, I personally prefer one place for everything, but if we get more. If there's a value in having discussions on GitHub because we can interlink things and whatnot, and we get some like GitHub integration with it, then yeah, that's fine as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just
we
suggesting
can
the same.
index them later on with all the vectorized documents. I think
Yeah.
it will be good.
Yeah, so like one of the
Okay. Yeah.
things that makes sense to me is like using GitHub for more of like the technical type of discussion, like more of like kind of open-ended discussion and stuff, exploring stuff maybe makes more sense in like Discord, but like anything that's like really technical and relating to like actual work and tickets and stuff makes sense to be in Discord, in GitHub.
GitHub.
And I think there is a value linking like technical discussions to the issues and implementation directly. That's
Definitely. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, do you want to talk about the enhancement proposal template that Peter created recently as well? That could be a good format for some of these.
Yeah, for sure. So it's
Yeah.
interesting because like AutoGen, they don't allow you to create issues for features. You have to start as a discussion first, which is an interesting. Yeah, but yeah, we can take a look at that. Let me. Uh, where is that? Is that where is that, Peter? I forget. Design.
It's
Yeah,
I think
here.
under features, or yeah, it's just a simple temp. You have to click the raw version of it because raw one has the comments and everything on how to do
Got it.
things. Yeah.
Yeah, I do think that for larger EPs, this would be very useful. Like I think a lot of the driving is happening from a roadmap perspective, but I think that as community users and as people begin to add larger and larger features, EPs are really going to become very important to make sure we're all on the same page and all agree on implementations before they get started. So
that is usually what some of the CNCF projects they use, like Argo CD use discussions to define and discuss.
Yeah.
Including the marketing, Open GitOps use discussions to define like principles and things like that. So, and that becomes like features under the features. So.
Yeah, definitely. So I think, I think that the line here is always interesting, right? Like what's an issue? What's a discussion? What's a EP, right? So I think these things will become more apparent again as the community matures, as the project matures, etc. Omar, I saw you had your hand up a couple minutes ago. I don't want to sound. I want to make sure your comment doesn't get lost. Was there something you wanted to bring up about?
Yeah, just wanted quick question on the demo that I just did. Does that one depend on any version to enable that kind of tracing? I remember a few meetings a few weeks ago in one of the meetings, we saw those traces kind of limited. The information was not very easy to digest, and now it seems way much better. So what changed? Do we need to be in a certain version, or the setup on the Hotel Jagger change?
Yeah, so it hasn't. It just merged like an hour ago. So it hasn't been really. It will be in the next release, so 3.18. I can kick that off right now. Yeah. Let me kick that off.
Okay.
So
and
yeah, let me.
If you don't mind throwing in the conversation box or in the notes meeting the Medium article that you were just showing, please.
Oh, great idea. Yes. I deleted it. Oh, here it is.
You have it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, for sure. Yes. Marcin, I promise I will go back to your thing. Yes, here's that thing. Okay. Yes, absolutely, Omar. And I'm going to be writing a doc today as well, in which I'll have this information. So don't worry about that. It won't be black magic. Martin, that is a great question about Dennis's PR. I think the way that Dennis implemented it is not. I don't think is how we want to move forward with that feature. Only because it It sort of directly adds the function. It ties the functionality directly into K-Agent in a way that's probably not necessary. I mean, I'm definitely open to more conversation about that. So, because if you look at what it does, right, it basically adds a listener it adds code directly into the cage and controller to verify the into the sorry, it adds code directly into the controller to verify the JOTs when there are a ton of options already for doing that. Now, the interesting thing that is worth bringing up is that because of how A2A works, the auth is also defined in the spec. So I do, there's a way in which it's important to actually have that information directly within the spec itself, but I also don't want to reinvent the wheel here. I'm wondering what you think about that.
No, no, definitely. It's the same discussion like with the OAuth2 for the webs, right?
Yep.
It's just that it seems there is some interest behind it, and maybe we will need to decide that we're dropping the code, but then having some proposals, where we and how we will want to go, especially right now that the A2A is being donated to CNCF and it's probably going to be a rapid evolution. So yeah, if the decision is that we're dropping it because it's not feasible, then let's maybe do that, but have some
Have a backup
proposals.
plan. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. Let me. Yeah, I have a coworker. He's not here today, but he's actually working on this problem internally. So I'll get with him and I'll try and update that. And see. Hopefully by Thursday, I'll ask them to join the contributors meeting on Thursday, and we'll have a deeper discussion about that. Also, FYI to everyone, we're starting a contributors meeting every other Thursday to really dive deep into any PRs that are happening or work that needs to be done. All are welcome. If anyone would like to join, just feel free to ping me. And yeah, I think it's on the cage and calendar. So it's on there. It's on there.
Is it?
I put it up. Yes, I did. I can write software. I can't figure out how Google Calendars work. Honestly, they're actual black magic. They make no sense to me. But yes, I agree. I think they're really important.
Okay,
we also, the A2A spec, they changed it in a non, whatever. So like, there's going to be a lot of changes in A2A happening. And I agree that I think with the donation, it's going to become pretty popular. And so I think we definitely need to figure out that aspect of it. We also need to figure out or add support for calling other agents via A2A. I saw someone working on that upstream AutoGen, so we can definitely get that going. Yeah. Okay, Dimitro, I see your hand is raised.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention if we can review some big PRs which are coming, maybe, pending approvals and stuff like this, that everyone will be aware about like a big changes maybe before they merge it.
Oh, that's a good idea.
One of them is, for example, like tools rewrite. We are now trying to move away and separate the tools from the Python app to the Go, right? And just if anyone has feedback on that, any additional comments or something, I just added to the chat the pull request. You can also find it.
That's a great idea. Yeah, that's number 552. And FYI, as a result of that PR, we're going to be doing a minor bump because it will be breaking for the tools. So just FYI that will be coming. We'll have release notes on how to deal with it. All of the internal agents will be updated, etc. But just so everyone knows, that will be coming up. But this will enable some really awesome use cases. First of all, it separates the MCP servers directly from the runtime, which means that now we can actually run these MCP servers in any environment, right? So all of these servers become useful. One, we can run them anywhere, right? We can scale them separately. We can run them in separate clusters, right? We can even run them locally, right? It really opens up an entire new set of functionality for our MCP servers, which I think is awesome. Yeah,
Actually,
they become
right
useful
now,
outside of Kagent. Exactly.
As a part of this PR, you can find examples already which can be tested locally. There is like a Go version of all the tools which we had previously inside the Python, and they were not exposed. You can actually compile it as a regular Go executable. There is a make target for that. And also there is one which was not obvious and a bit hidden. It's like doc2vec. This is like our kind of a RAG implementation. It's currently extracted to a separate image, which you also can run locally as another tool, and you will get ability to query the documentation which we indexed. So there are actually two MCPs.
Very cool.
Yeah, and you can connect them locally.
And also, we're going to be, as a follow-up, I'm not going to, I don't think we need to do this in this PR, but as a follow-up, we'll be releasing all of those MCP servers alongside. So we'll be doing releases. So, we'll have documentation so you can do, Docker run, whatever, on these MCP servers without needing to build all of it locally, which will, again, unlock more use cases outside of just Kagent.
Yep.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know we plan to do that, but it's a good idea.
Yep. I mean, it's free, right? It's like it's easy,
Yeah.
Once we have the code.
Yeah, I mean, if it's statically compiled Go, I mean, I can run it just as a directly executable. But you're right, we can run it also in Docker.
Yeah. It seems like the way people are moving forward with the STDIO servers is they're preferring Docker. Because of the execution environment.
But in my environment, that doesn't work. But it seems there are this drive to have it as a Docker, which poses multitude of different challenges for people on Windows, especially. They run it on WSL, but they need access to local disks, and all those weird things are happening compared to how everybody can run them, through local.
No, we'll definitely have multiple options. I agree. I don't personally run the as Docker containers either, but I also do all of my development on a VM. So anyway,
guys, and maybe last one before we wrap up. I think in our meeting notes which we have, maybe we can add some sections for kind of weekly interesting links and references. For example, there was MCP standard out, with new updates. We had a couple of documents released from like Anthropic and so on regarding the prompt tuning and stuff like that, which I think we need to put in some place where we can find them easily.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Here, let me get started. Oops.
Yeah, and people were asking about contributors place, like for contrib examples. We have already requests to add some kind of like a third-party MCPs and stuff like that. So we have a light version of that coming. I think is part of Cage and Contrib with different tools and stuff which can be installed in simple way. The question for everyone: do you feel we need a Helm chart for that or something with a feature flags? I'm not sure right now if that's makes sense or not.
So it's actually funny. I was looking at your at what you said at that PR, and I think, like, for example, I was actually going to comment on this but I didn't want to expand the scope. But I do think that GitHub agent should just be an agent. Like, that should just be added directly to the
right. We can add it, but the thing is, there is like a graduation process. Maybe someone will put it first in the kind of contrib area. We add their all required things, test it. Maybe the separation for me is there are like a Docker images and things which we release. We do CV scanning, security scanning, everything, right? And there are third parties. So as soon as we start to release something, we need to make sure it's the official image, official Docker and everything, and or avoid some kind of very gray area things. You know.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay. Yeah, I don't think we should release. So should we have a Helm chart for that? We can, but we can't. We shouldn't release it anyway. Or are you saying we should have a separate contrib repo for Helm charts?
Yeah, maybe like a separate, like, you know, third-party things which everyone can put, and then have a simple way to install it. I don't know. It's something.
Should we do that in a
open for
separate?
discussion.
Do you think we should do that in a separate repo or just in a folder?
Open question. Depends how many of them we will have.
Yeah, I was wondering about the status of that too, because I'd like to get that sandbox, like, start to get work on it and package it up for this as well.
Yeah, I think if we're gonna be more lax about releasing these, then maybe the answer is a separate repo. And then we can be, it's
Like, okay,
just, can you, do you have a repository for it now, right, Tom?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I've got a directory. I've just got a repository for all the stuff that I'm making that's related to Istio and Envoy.
Okay, so what about this, Dimitri? What if I create a new community or a contrib repo, and then we'll have a top level agents directory where we can add Helm charts for agents if we want. What do you think about that?
Yeah, put it there, and then maybe make a sandbox directory. I put my sandbox there, or something.
Yeah.
That way, as we develop documentation and we have these resources, we can start linking to them as well. So we can do that in line. And some of this stuff, like if we do tutorials as well, that might be a good place to put tutorials. So that you've got like the assets, and then you can take the readmes and like flip them into docs, right? And make them nicer. So it's a quick way to develop, because I come from making labs and all this stuff, right? And that's a quick way to develop things that'll get people to get their hands on so they can on-ramp quicker. So having this.
You know what? Let's just do this in the same. Let's just do it in a contrib folder. There's no reason to have a whole nother repo. I don't think. When we can just, I think that's okay.
I think if we have mainly YAML files, we can do it directly. Yeah. And have just maybe some structure which will have tools, agents, like those demo environments, like integrations. Yeah.
Tutorials, just start putting that stuff, and some of that stuff will be like just beg to be turned into docs, and then you take them, you polish them up, you make docs, and that'll feed the doc side as well. So all this type of stuff will speed adoption though and build the community pretty quick, if I'm reading this right.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Anyone has a tool which is converting automatic MCP JSON into the tools definition, something like that? I think we had a discussion some time back that we can do kind of automatic import of automatic discovery of all your MCPs and pull it into the K agent. Does anyone interested in such functionality?
You mean like scraping? Like what do you mean by that?
I mean, if you okay, I mean, I can run like Kagent CLI and do like some -- import MCP from my local. So it will go to some common locations like my, I don't know, cursor, VS Code, Cloud, and so on, and basically generate, maybe just generate YAML without automatically applying. But it will kind of, because, it's a very common task, which I'm doing now in the last few days, I have my MCP definition, I copy it from somewhere, I need to create a tool with secret, with everything, right? In order to do it secure right way, maybe we can just automate it a little bit. I think, what do you say?
Yeah, I think a CLI command makes sense. I was thinking it could be cool also. Yeah, I think that CLI definitely makes sense. Are you using mostly
this GitHub, right? Like this GitHub thing, right? I had to create the YAML and everything with the secret reference. I mean, if I could just run it locally and it will discover my MCP JSON, it can do it.
Is there I'm gonna bring up the same question that Tyler's asking. Is there like a schema or like a known spec for these? Like Claude.json is one of them,
Yeah,
right? But are there any others?
Yeah.
Or are we saying this is just for Claude.json, or is it just for
VS Code using pretty much the same MCP servers with I think there are section for secrets environment variables, which is in the way this environment are hidden and separated, and then you have servers list.
Yeah, I mean, if we know that the format and the schema is not going to change, I mean, not going to change, but if we know what it is and we can confidently generate YAML, let's do it in the CLI.
Yeah, I think that sounds great. Yeah, specifically so you're saying read in cursor file or VS Code file and spit out YAML. Yeah, I think that makes sense.
And if
fine, I mean, without applying, applying YAML will be on the user.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Also, if anyone wants to take it a step further, I think a long time back I logged an issue in the UI when you're adding a tool server where you could just paste the JSON in that dialog and it would fill out everything for you as well. So that would be kind of similar thing, but in the UI, right?
Can I ask you a question real quick? I was thinking on playing with Podman desktop to run my containers locally without having Docker. And I'm interacting with the team. There was a kind of a need to export these resources from Podman desktop. When Podman, the client, connects in a cluster, you can pretty much retrieve those resources, YAML files, CRs, or whatever, and export them, removing some of the tags, right? So timestamps and things like that are not needed if you are versioning that in a Git repository and applying Argo on top of it or something. Is it any intention from the key agent to provide a kind of a way to export these resources in a GitOps friendly way?
You mean which resources?
The tool servers, or the.
Yeah. So when you mean GitOps friendly in terms of the list of tool, like what do you?
No, the resources without all the metadata that are not needed. Is it a friendly way of doing it?
I mean, there is a kubectl export for this purpose, but then usually you need to apply some filter on top and remove a couple of things with. I've seen people doing it with some small Python script or something. I mean,
would be like a suggestion to create like an option in the app to export those resources.
I'm not sure this is like agent CLI responsibility to work with any
Kubernetes
resources. Yeah, it's doesn't sound like
I agree. But yeah. Anyway, so yeah, good.
I guess I'm not 100% sure. So why is it not GitOps friendly today?
Well, the metadata essentially. So if you want to
create a timestamp, namespace, all kind of stuff that you want to strip when you export it. But I think that's definitely not the domain of KAgent CLI to manage that. You can use any other existing tools to.
I would just suggest actually on the UI. So you could export from the UI and
a button for version.
Yeah. That's another story. Yeah, I think that could be done. Yeah.
Not the CLI, because the CLI I understand there.
You remind me one outstanding thing which was commonly seen. Whenever we have reconcile errors, we are not currently updating status to error. It's all this stuff is accepted. Is anyone working on that? Or I mean.
Let me create
people
an
say
issue.
it's accepted, but then you need to actually go through the logs. Is anyone planning to do it, or I can do it? I mean,
no. Let me take a look at that. I think it should be a pretty easy fix. I'll take care of that. But yeah, I agree. I noticed that too, and I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, because whenever we're missing like name of the tool or tool was not imported properly, and agent kind of stuck, it shows accepted, but in reality it's not visible in the UI. And then you see like empty UI or, no agents and start to digging. I think it will make sense if we just do that. And
definitely. Yeah, there's yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I was also thinking about, if you are mentioning this status, Dimitra, I was also
Mhm.
I was also thinking about having a status of any resource that we have in KAgent on the UI visible, right? Green dot, red dot. If it's, you know,
Yeah,
if we
That's like would be, yes, the next level to have it more
yeah
kind of
yeah
for
definitely
troubleshooting.
not
Yeah.
yet. Yeah, and for status,
For example,
right?
not everyone has access to the pod, right? If you have a user which is
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
end user, he will create something, and it's yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean,
no, I mean, I think sorry.
once it's done on the controller, right, and the actual, we decided what the status is and if it's correct and all that, then it's fairly straightforward to add it to the UI, I think.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that, obviously this project is very early and you know, there's definitely a bunch of things we can do. Kind of like day two stuff where to just make it clear what the hell's happening, So I think the things like the tracing statuses, all of these things build together to just make it much more clear. So yeah, no, I totally agree. I'll log an issue right now for the statuses.
Okay.
All right. Well, we're out of time. So I will. I'm gonna head out, but I will. Yeah. I'll see you. I'll see some of you on Thursday, and the rest of you. Thanks for joining. Thanks for asking so many questions. Thanks for being so involved. And we'll talk to you soon.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
So